You would think when people do this long enough, they wouldn't get that much wrong. Let's dive into one. The Ideal Bar Path for a Stronger Bench Press by J.M. Blakley. You would think with a title like that, it would be 100% correct. Or at least like 95. It's not. There's so much wrong with this. And I don't want to build my videos upon just hating on people. So I'm not going to try to attack the man at all. But good God, his math is horribly wrong. And that's what we're going to focus on today. The math, the science, how and what he is saying. Let's get into it. He's talking about the bench press, and he's saying that the strongest way to bench press is straight up. You should not have any diagonal over your face movement. It should be vertically up from your chest. He also goes on to say that the shoulders should be directly under your touch point, but then he also notes that only super small females really are able to achieve that amount of arching. So he's kind of already set up this premise of here's the ideal thing that only a very small population can do, but we should all work towards it. What if we just did what worked for us? Not everybody's going to get into this ideal position. So he likes to talk about this sideways nonsense, he says. Going from chest to face is sideways nonsense. Okay. Maybe that's actually stronger. I get, if you go straight off the chest, that's less range of motion. But less range of motion does not equal stronger always. Because there's leverages. And muscles work better at different ranges. So in minute 56 in, he says,
any strength that you use this way is strength you could have used this way.
No. You can't tell me that a shoulder flexor, like the anterior delt, is as equally strong horizontally as it is vertically. No. You can't tell me the clavicular head of the pec, which is responsible for flexion of the humerus, is stronger not doing flexion of the humerus. Or you're trying to say that by not using those two muscles, we can somehow use more of the sternal head of the pec to push off from our chest. Again, usually using more muscles is stronger than less. So here's where the math starts to get real weird real quick. He says if you lift at a 45-degree angle up over your face, as most people teach, he says, you're only getting 50% of your strength. So I get what he's saying in a sense. Let's back up. Let's think about the elbow instead. Just bicep flexion. 100% going right through here, bicep flexion. Cool. If you try to do a little bit of like external rotation with it, or if you're trying to, instead of flex, bring it in and flex, that might be a little weaker. Yeah, okay, I can maybe get behind that with a one joint movement like the bicep. This is not a one joint movement. The bench press uses your entire body, as you can see on almost any YouTube video out there of how to bench press. If you're bringing up a 45-degree angle, he's saying that's only 50% of what you can actually do. He is completely ignoring any other muscle activation. In that scenario, there's no triceps, there's no front delt, there's no lats going on. There's absolutely nothing other than the sternal head of the pec. Not even the whole pec, just one head of it. Let's take a look at some research here just for a second. So the study is called Influence of Bench Angle on Upper Extremity Muscular Activation with Bench Press Angles. What they did is they were measuring the surface EMG of the pec, anterior delt, and the triceps at 0, 30, 45, and negative 15 degree angles of the bench. So in Mr. Blakley's video, he goes on to say that
if you ask anybody in the gym, it'd be rare for anybody to answer this question differently. How much can you bench more on an incline, flat, or decline?
You just said decline.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that doesn't say decline.
the study directly goes against that because it says here that 30, 0, and negative 15, which is decline, are all equal in MVIC for the lower pec, which is what Mr. Blakley is trying to really stress here. And the upper pec's nowhere near stronger at a decline. So when we look at the actual research of this, there's not a whole lot backing his claim here. And what I think is pretty funny too is unless you are one of those individuals who can get your shoulders stacked underneath your touch point, as he continually preaches on, he does this whole demonstration with chalk and touch point and stuff. Unless you're one of those individuals, your triceps are going to be at an angle unless you bring them over your shoulder joint. If you don't lock out of your shoulder joint, now your arm is not going to be straight this way. If you lock out down here, the tricep is not stacked. So it inserts in the shoulder and goes to the elbow. So if that's not perpendicular to the bench, now you're losing strength by his measurements. So although the sternal head might be better, straight up and down, you're now sacrificing your triceps and your lockout ability by not moving it up toward your face. He actually goes on to say that the ideal touch point is as low as possible. But he thought the ideal touch point was once your shoulders are stacked underneath your chest right there. So as low as possible could be lower than where your shoulders are, which then means to lock out over your shoulders so your triceps are in a good position. Now your chest is no longer straight up and down. There's so much like this idea, and this idea, but these three ideas don't ever go together except for that one individual who's able to get in the ideal position. But everyone's created differently, so you can't have this ideal movement path that you think is going to work for everybody and try to conform everyone to that movement. Everyone's different. We're all built a little differently. To think that you can only look this one certain way and that's the perfect way to do it and that's the only way to do it is such a disservice to everyone who can't do that but who can still be strong. And someone in his comments, they go on to ask him, say, hey, I looked at a lot of these top lifters, IPF Worlds, these type of people, and a majority of them have this J-curve bar path. And he comes back to say something along the lines of, just because those people did it does not mean it's correct. And you know what? From backing up a second, like that phrase in itself is a good phrase. Yeah. Just because a lot of people are doing something does not mean it's the right thing to do. However, each one of those bench pressers has a little bit of variance in them. It's because they're able to accommodate their variances, target their strong points. That is why they are as strong as they are. Not because they fell into some cookie cutter, must be this way. Let's try to bend everyone's back as much as they can, arch them as much as they can. Which, if you've been here before, you know how the video about arching, if it's overrated or not, that's tagged up above now. Take a look at that. But back to this. We're all different. Sideways nonsense is not sideways nonsense. The reason a J bar path works is because it sets up the muscles in the right position each time. It lets the chest work off the chest, transition to your shoulders, that way your triceps are in a good position to lock out. And that's why so many people do it, and that's why it's been so successful. We all do things a little differently, and I think that's great. It'd be kind of boring if every single person out of me stepped up, looked the exact same way, did the exact same things, and we moved on. That'd be boring. It's nice we have this variation that some people are very ultra wide grip on the bench, some people sink it a little lower, some people hardly touch. We have sumo, we have conventional deadlift, we have high bar, we have low bar. Variance is what creates our sport. So what is the ideal bar path? It's what works for you. We're all built differently if you haven't figured that out by now. J-curve bar path is usually what's going to work for a lot of people. That's usually what more advanced lifters do by the studies have shown. Novices usually come off the chest and then over the face. Advanced lifters usually come up and then out, or up and lock out. If you've given the channel description a read, which I'm sure most people haven't, but I'll give you a quick summary. The 3 goals of this channel is to help you move better, help you lift more, give you evidence-based recommendations to cut through that BS of the fitness industry, and help bring the community of powerlifting closer together. And what bugs me so much about when you get people with such a big following saying this is how you have to do it, you're bringing this divide for no reason. If you're going to proclaim a certain way is correct over another, and your math is as simple as 45 degrees is 50% weaker, That's just bad. You're not doing the powerlifting community a service in any means by providing such weak rationale for your thought process. And maybe your way is better. Maybe a straight bar path is ideal. There's been little evidence though through that video to show it's any better than a J curve. And so now you're trying to educate all these people who are going to follow you and listen to you because of things you have done in your name. But you're just potentially setting them up to fail. We have to do better as a powerlifting, bodybuilding, Olympic lifting, fitness industry. There's so much BS out there. It's time to stop. I would love in the future if I didn't have to do any more videos saying how poorly information is being spread. But I don't think that's going to be the case. And again, I'm not trying to attack the man here. I'm not trying to discredit anything he has done. Simply want to educate, give a counter argument, and show, hey, you know what? His ideal bar path is only ideal for a few. Variance is real within the sport, and that's what makes the sport beautiful. If you can't do his ideal bar path, do your ideal bar path. I'm sure people are going to disagree with what I'm saying. You know, he has a much bigger following, much bigger name than I do. I don't care. You can hate on me all you want in the comments. Go ahead. Let me know what you think. What is the ideal bar path and why? But while you're here, you made it this far, just hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe. Hit them both. Catch you guys next time.